I don't think any villain introduction in One Piece affected me the way Kaido's did. Because that was the first time I genuinely felt fear watching One Piece. And the crazy part is, I already thought One Piece was the greatest anime ever before he even showed up. I love the adventure, the freedom, the emotional storytelling, the way Oda makes you feel attached to characters so quickly. I already thought it was special, and it's not like One Piece was never dark before, because it absolutely was. Arlong was disturbing what he did to Nami. Crocodile was ruthless. The celestial dragons made my blood boil. And Marineford emotionally wrecked me. Ace's death? We're not even gonna reopen that wound right now. But One Piece has always had pain in it. But none of them made me feel overwhelmed, crushed, like the air itself got heavier. And don't get me wrong, One Piece already had incredible villains before Kaido too. Doflamingo was absolutely terrifying to me. But Doflamingo's fear came from manipulation, from intelligence, cruelty, and from how calculated he was. He felt dangerous mentally, but Kaido felt different. Kaido felt physical and spiritual at the same time, almost. And this is the best way I can explain it. As somebody whose favorite anime is Bleach, Kaido was the first One Piece character that gave me the feeling of spiritual pressure. When powerful characters walk into a room in Bleach and everybody instantly feels small, that's what Kaido felt like to me. I'm dead serious when I say I felt his haki through the screen, and that feeling caught me completely off guard. Because think about how this man was introduced. He literally fell from the sky. This man dropped from Sky Island while trying to kill himself. Already insane behavior. But it wasn't even just the entrance itself that got me. It was the reaction. The worst generation looked terrified. And that shook me. Because up until that point, the worst generation felt untouchable in a way. Cocky, dangerous, chaotic. They felt like the future. And then Kaido shows up and suddenly all of them looked small. I remember getting goosebumps watching that scene, because for the first time in One Piece, I felt exactly how they felt. That's what made the scene so powerful. Kaido didn't bring them down a couple notches, he brought them down flat. And I think that's the moment where One Piece emotionally shifted for me. Because Kaido felt unbeatable. We're used to Luffy losing initially, but this time was different. Apart from him losing multiple times, he gets imprisoned and gets physically broken down. And Kaido does it so casually. That's what made it scary. Casual dominance. Even hearing about what happened to Kid losing his arm, seeing powerful pirates get crushed so easily, it changed the atmosphere. Because it felt like no amount of confidence guaranteed survival anymore. I probably should have known things were changing the moment Wano started, because Wano itself felt different. The atmosphere, the art style, the lighting, the emotional tension, everything felt heavier. Even visually, One Piece started feeling differently, and I loved it. But I also think subconsciously that tonal shift prepared us for Kaido. Because once fully entered the story, One Piece stopped feeling like a world where the Straw Hats would always emotionally recover by the next island. No, it felt a whole lot more dangerous. To be fair, Doflamingo did warn us. And what makes Kaido so effective to me is that he never felt cartoonishly evil. He wasn't constantly screaming, wasn't doing dramatic speeches every 5 seconds, wasn't trying to prove himself. He felt bored, detached, and overwhelming. Human life genuinely didn't matter to him. Honestly, it felt like he didn't even see people as people, and that's terrifying. Because characters like that don't need to threaten you, their existence already feels like the threat. I feel like the weirdest part is I couldn't even hate him normally. Obviously I wanted Luffy to win, but Kaido's presence was so overwhelming that it almost went beyond villain for me. He felt larger than the story itself, like a natural disaster, and that's rare. Very few anime villains have made me feel that way. One Piece was already special to me before Kaido, but Kaido changed the feeling of the entire world. That's when One Piece stopped feeling like it's just an adventure, and started feeling dangerous. And honestly, I've never looked at One Piece the same ever since. But until next time, sail safe and stay spirited.